Miles Brown, welcome to the Empower Network. I'm so excited you're here.
I'm glad to be here. I appreciate the opportunity.
This is going to be good. So we're going to talk about, because your slogan is obviously do something good, and we're going to dive into that, why you do it, where it came from, and what you're most excited about. And so let's start telling your story. First of all, for those right now, are you in North America? Are you in the States by
Yeah,
chance?
I'm in North Texas. I'm a little north of Dallas.
Little north of Dallas. Okay, awesome. So let's talk about, first of all, your catchphrase, do something good. I love your t-shirt. Where did this come from?
I'll give you most of the story. So
Yeah.
growing up, my parents were actually ministers, or they are ministers.
Okay.
And I've seen them do good in ways that a lot of people haven't. So this is a true story, okay? I go to Vegas one time to visit my mother's parents. They lived in Vegas at the time. And I was out there for maybe a week. And on the way home, my grandpa's driving me to the airport. And when my grandfather first became a grandfather, he said he was too young to be a grandpa. So he had to find another name for us to call him. So we call him Big Daddy because he was too young at the time, back in the 80s, to be a grandfather, in his words.
Yeah.
Even though his daughter was a full-grown adult and married and whatnot, but yeah, he said he was too young. So anyways,
Big Daddy.
yeah,
I
we
love
call
it.
him Big Daddy. So we're on the way to the airport and I say, hey, Big Daddy, this is the first time I remember like no one living with us. And it's been like pretty much just the week that I've been in Vegas that no one has lived with us. And he goes, yeah, your parents always been taking care of somebody. It's like, okay, that's cool. Like I've learned now that my parents truly are servants. And that's what it means to be a minister. It means to serve. And so I get on the plane. It's about a 2-hour plane ride, 2.5 hours from Vegas back to Dallas, Texas. My dad picks me up. We get home. There's a car parked in front of the house. I'm like, who's this? And he says the lady's name. I'm like, what is she doing here? And I'm like, you mean from California? Like, yeah, we used to live in California. So yeah, she's out here for a minute. It's like, oh, okay. Now I just see the car. I don't notice anything. I step out the car and I look back at her car again and I realize her trunk is full. Like her back seat and her trunk are full. I'm like, what in the world? Like, what is she doing? I get in the house and I find out that I had just told my grandpa a few hours earlier, this is the first time no one's lived with us. By the time I got home, somebody else was living with us. Because my parents are always, always, always serving. I've seen my dad bring these two ladies they were sleeping in our backyard at one point. It was like a park.
Yeah.
And two ladies were sleeping in the park and he would just bring them in and just give them food to eat. Or some nights he'd say, hey, you're not sleeping in the park, come in. And like, I saw him go buy air mattresses so that they would have mattresses to sleep on in the house. And literally every year of my life, they've had someone else living with them, taking care of someone, men, women with children, teenagers, like whole families. One time they had a family of 4 moved in with us. And so that is my perception of everything. In life, I've always seen the need that people have for someone to do good for them in a long list of ways. And so growing up, I ended up taking that on and that like became a part of me. And so that's kind of where it comes from. And then also comes from, I've learned after watching so much time, like when you do good for other people, the things that people will do for you probably goes beyond what you did for them. If I'm being totally honest, you can do something small for someone and they can feel so grateful that they'll do something major for you. So just for the sake of example, my parents don't do this, but with all the people that they've taken care of, if they just randomly said, hey, so-and-so, I need $1,000, there wouldn't be a question about why, what do you need it for, what are you going to do it with? It's, oh man, I would love to give you whatever you're asking for. Or people just randomly come up to my parents sometimes and say, thank you for what you've done. Let me do this for you. Let me do that for you. And I've seen it time and time and time again. And as I started to do good in my own ways, which I guess we can talk about later, I've seen the the gratitude, forget what people do. The gratitude people have is enough for me to say, oh, this was awesome. I got to do something else with someone else. So that's what do something good is. It comes from what I've seen with my own two eyes, understanding that if you find a way to do something good for someone else, you will produce so much good in your life and in the lives of others.
That's beautiful. I love that you're saying this because there's a lot of people, well, there's a percentage of people out there that are actively trying to do harm to others. And so to hear that you're raised in a family, I just got a notification from Facebook that someone just tried to post some nudity in the Facebook group, for example, after what we're just talking about. So let me I'm just gonna go to this.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Anyway, I'm not sure what that's about, but we'll get back to that. So I'm just gonna close this. You were sharing just before we went live about something that just happened to you that you had to walk through 3 days ago that you got, what's it called? You got whatever.
Zoom bombed.
You got Zoom bombed.
Yeah.
Zoom bombed.
That was one heck of an experience. I'll tell you, you guys are gonna be the first people that actually tell outside of like a select few. So I did a workshop called the Say Something Good workshop, which, long story short, it helps people get over their anxieties of speaking, and it shows them all the positivity that comes from standing up in front of a room and being able to speak with confidence and competency. So that's what the workshop is about. Free workshop. And long story short, someone who did not register for the workshop somehow got into the Zoom call and they started sharing explicit content. And they were laughing at us and they were talking about, ha, we got you. And it was loud. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I'm freaking out. Like, I'm like, how do I get this stuff off? Turns out I can't even kick the person out of the room. I'm trying. I'm not able to kick them out. So eventually, long story short, I just had to shut it down, apologize to everybody that was in the workshop, and start a new call. And yeah, that was interesting. It messed up my entire day because I had never experienced something like that before. Everyone who watched or who joined the workshop, they all told me like, you did a great job, you recovered well, and you pushed through it, you showed perseverance. I'm like, that's great. But on the inside, I was like, what is happening? What is going on? What do I do? What do I say? How do I get them back on track? Like, are they even going to listen to what I say moving forward? I was all kinds of messed up. But yeah, there are people who are actively, for no good reason, trying to interrupt the good that you're trying to do.
Well, so how have you learned to, because you're raised in a home where this has been practiced, where serving others, loving others been practiced. What are some of the secrets you've learned that carry you through when things go sideways and something or people do something to actively try to take you out? What have you learned? What do you focus on? What do you think about? How do you get through these things?
A few things. The first thing, and this may sometimes when I tell people this, they're like, that's not a big key. I know that. But like, we know things, but we don't like intrinsically know them. Therefore, we don't do them. Is to breathe. Is to honestly take a few deep breaths. One thing that I tell people and that I actually shared in the workshop is, a lot of people have this anxiety when they have to speak. And it's the same anxiety people have with other things, but speaking is just one thing that worldwide people are afraid of. But the panic that comes, if you can take a few deep breaths, your body starts to be incapable of panic. Now, you might still be afraid of something, but you won't panic your way through it. So the first thing that I would suggest is to take a few moments and literally take a few deep breaths, because that will calm your body. It'll settle you. It'll ground you and give you the ability to say, okay, this is bad. This is rough. I don't like this. This is scary. Somebody just Zoom bombed me while I'm working. But even though all those bad things are happening, you won't panic through it. You'll be able to breathe and think through whatever the situation is. So that's one big thing. And then another thing is to understand that a lot of people how do you say it? A lot of times the bad things that people do, that's not who the people are. And sometimes we see someone do something that we don't like for whatever the reason is. It could be big, it could be small, but they do something that we don't like, and we immediately assume that that's who they are, and we take a super offense to it. That does you no good. Taking offense does you no good. Even if what they did is offensive, to act out of that offensive reaction does you no good, because then you're not thinking once again, and you're just going on like, how do I get my get back? Or how do I pay them back for what they did to me? How do I kick them out of my life? Instead of finding like, what is honestly the best way to move forward? So when things go wrong, you want to think about what is honestly the best way to move forward. The best way may be to remove somebody completely out of your life. That may be something you need to do. It may be better to have a conversation with someone and ask them, hey, like, what made you do this? Like, why would you do that to me? That may be best. It may be best to apologize even when you're not in the wrong, because sometimes people feel slighted by something, and that is how they get to the reaction or the action that you didn't like, because they felt slighted. So honestly, I would say those two things: to breathe and to think. When you do those, you can more easily get through tough situations and tough circumstances, so that the bad that happens to you doesn't become what defines you.
Oh, I really appreciate that. I'm sure others do too, because I'm just practicing breathing right now as you say that. Facebook said they removed content, and the thing they tried to remove was you and I's live, saying that there's nudity or sexual activity in it. I'm not sure how that works. So
Wow.
I don't know how that works, but apparently that's what they're saying. Anyway, I'll follow up after. So I'm like, why would they think that? Obviously, that's not going on. So
Not at all.
anyway,
Not at all.
there was a comment, but the comment was removed. Sorry, I'm just taking a second to.
Take your
This is
time.
good. This is
understand.
really. I really appreciate what you're. Now living in the States in northern Texas. What's it like down in northern Texas?
Well, I was actually, until I was 15 or 16, I lived in Southern California. So Texas is its own place. I don't know the proper way to describe it, but there are a few places in America where you realize, oh, I am in a different place. This is
Okay.
not the same. In Texas, I like Texas. I like Texas a lot, actually. It's very cool. But Texas is just one of those places where you realize this is not California. This is not some other place in the South. It's not Mississippi, Louisiana. It's not Alabama. It's not. This is Texas. And it's funny, you won't really understand this until you're like immersed in it. There's a pride that Texans have that is above and beyond anything I've ever seen.
Really?
Like they say, yeah, like, so growing up in California, and most people throughout the states, we pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That's the Pledge of Allegiance to the U.S. In California, we did that. I know people who grew up in Nevada, Washington, New York, all over the states. They pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. In Texas, they say that pledge. And then my first day of high school in Texas, I found out that after that, they pledge allegiance to the Texas flag. Like Texas is its own country.
Okay.
Like Texas is its own separate thing. And so you just realize, like, hey, Texas is not the same. I don't know how to say it, but Texas is not the same as the rest of America, but it's a really cool place to be. You do get some of that Southern hospitality that, people talk about. You, like in the DFW, the Dallas area, you get some city life, you get the farm life, you see the horses, but you also see like the nice cars and the big buildings. Like you get a good mixture of everything here in Texas, but you also get the fact that this is Texas in Texas is different from everywhere else in the state. So it's pretty cool. I recommend giving Texas a visit.
Okay. Well, I actually plan on doing that later this year, so I'm excited about that. So thanks for telling us that. Now, so what's on the horizon for you then? Because, Miles, you've talked about a bit of where you came from with your family, your approach to dealing with these challenging situations. Your current, do you have a business you're engaged with, or what is your day-to-day look like currently?
Yeah, so right now my speaking business is what I'm really focused on. I'm working right now on getting into more schools to help with a few things. The workshop that I told you about is actually going to be a program that I offer to schools to help those students just be able to find their voice, be able to find their courage, and be able to, represent themselves with their voice, which me and many other speakers will call a superpower, to be able to speak and be, so that they can do that. My dad actually started a financial services company some years ago. And so I've learned a lot about finances. And that's another thing that I want to take into schools so that, I don't know the best way to say it other than they don't teach us about finances the way that they should. They just don't. And there's so much that can be learned and that would help prepare students, specifically like high school seniors and college age students for what's to come. And then I have the Say Something Good Mastermind, which is where I'll help other people just learn how to speak, learn the art of speaking, how to raise your voice and when to get excited and you're the rah-rah guy, or when to pause and let what you said sink in. When you can, in the middle of your talk, take a break so that you can breathe and ground yourself so that you're not anxious and just talking really fast and just hurting, getting off the stage. Because my first time speaking was an atrocity. Oh my goodness, it was so bad. My anxiety, long story short, my anxiety got the best of me and I was not able to move forward. So I just said a couple things extremely fast, sat down as fast as I could. I was supposed to teach and I taught nothing that day because I was too anxious. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. I have the Say Something Good workshop, which is free. And at the end of the workshop, I'll give people the opportunity to join the mastermind where I'll share with them all these things. And if you're willing to come to the Dallas area or you're in the Dallas, Texas area, we'll record for you, give you some highlights, some clips so that even if you're a brand new speaker, you can have good quality audio and video of you speaking so you can share that with others and, you can get speaking engagements. And we also show how being able to speak is good for any career. It's not just for people who want to speak for a living, but if you have a business or another career, we show how to take that ability and use that to skyrocket your career in so many different ways.
Well, it's kind of key for anyone who's doing any kind of teaching, training, coaching. If you can't speak and effectively deliver your message to one person or to groups, I could see the need for that. And so what are you hoping to do this year? What are your sights set on for the rest of 2023? You're going to grow your business? You're going to get into some schools? Do you have any joint ventures you're doing with business partners or?
So there is, okay. So with my mastermind, I'm actually I have 2 already, but I'm working on getting a few more TEDx speakers to come and to share with the group, so that they can just hear from more people that are successful and that they've done it, they get paid, they have the big bucks, they've had their name on the books and all that kind of stuff, just to better show people, hey, this is really possible for you. It's not just something that one guy did one time. Like, no, many people can do this and it can help you in many different ways. So the speakers that I have right now, they are not in the same market at all. Like their businesses are totally different, completely different. But it just goes to show that being able to speak, doesn't matter what your business is, can really propel you forward. So there's that. I'm working with that. And then I'm also working with another speaker who's really successful. And that's just to get people paid. Like I want to show people one of the things that, do something good. One of the things I want to do is get speakers paid so that they can focus on, hey, this is my primary goal. Like, this is what I really want to do. And part of that comes from, like I said, my parents are ministers. And some people think that all pastors and things make money. That's not the case by a long shot. The vast majority of pastors work a job. And a lot of them, even if the church does give them some money, it's not giving them nearly enough. A lot of them are, giving their money back to make sure that the church has a building that they can go to, people have a place that they can come to. So I want to be sure that people are making enough money so that they can focus on their heart's true desire, whatever that might be. And usually that comes back to the good that they're doing for someone else. We usually find our ultimate fulfillment when we find a way that we can help someone else. And so I want to help people be able to do that, whatever that is. That you could be a pastor, you could want to speak for a living, you could want to tutor people. I don't know what it is you want to do, but I want you to be free enough to do that so that you're not bogged down by, the stresses of everyday life. Those stresses they're real, they can be massive, but if we can move some of the financial stress out of the way, we can free up so much more of our financial ability, what we can do with our money, and what we can do with our brain power, instead of being focused on how am I going to eat? How am I going to pay rent? How am I going to get clothes for my kid? How am I going to pay for school, or whatever the case may be? We can take that same power and focus it on how can I improve the way I'm doing good in this area? How can I do good for this person? How can I benefit this organization? And so on and so forth.
I'm marveling at your mindset. Clearly, your parents have done a few things right in raising you, and you're obviously making some good choices for yourself. Do you have siblings growing up? Are you the only child?
Oh, we have siblings. So my parents have 6 kids of their own. There's 5 boys and 1 girl. I'm the 3rd oldest. The girl is right after me, so she has 2 younger brothers. And then remember I said my parents are taking care of a lot of people. Some of those people have just decided that they're a part of the family now. So even after they leave, they're a part of the family. So I have extra brothers and sisters running around this country. Some are here in Texas, some are back in California. They're all over the place. But yeah, there's always been a lot of us. My parents have a lot of kids, and they've taken care of a lot of people. And some of those kids have become, my other brothers and sisters. So yeah, it's always been a lot of us. And I'll be sure to tell my parents the good things that you said about them. They deserve to have that bit of encouragement and inspiration themselves.
Well, you're well spoken, and the things you're talking about, Miles, are not trite matters. There's a bedrock that you come from. There's some really beautiful things that are coming out of your mouth that you've already landed on, and I'm assuming you're in your 20s, maybe 30s. Like I don't know. I don't know. I'm 40.
Take a guess on my exact age.
I don't know.
I just want to know where you land.
Well, I'm 47, so I assume you're way younger than me. And are you 23? How old are you?
20. That's their guess. I actually turned 30 the end of September.
Okay. Well, I would have. You're aging well. You're aging gracefully.
Yeah. No one ever guesses my age, and that's why I said, like, hey, just take a guess, because I always like to know. And just I went to a new barbershop, bought a new house, went to a barbershop, and the guy thought I was in high school, and I was like, okay, I'm never shaving my mustache. My beard is small, but I have to keep that at all times, because clearly without it, no one thinks I'm an adult.
This is good, though. This is good. So it's good. You're young at heart, and you got some wisdom in your 30 years. That's for sure. Well, is there anything else? How can people connect with you? Are they free to reach out to you on Facebook?
Yeah, you can reach out to me on Facebook. So my personal page is King Miles Brown. But my business page is Miles Brown Online on Facebook. TikTok, Miles Brown Online. My website, milesbrownonline.com. You can find me on Instagram. I have 2 Instagram pages. One is Miles Brown Online. The other is the Miles Brown Online. So if you want to know how to find me, that's it. Miles Brown Online. That's how you find me.
Well, I wanted to say thank you for talking with us and to me today specifically, because it's just so interesting. You had that happen with Zoom or with your thing, and then this today with our interview. I'm not sure. I'll go and find out what that's about. But for anybody that is just feels like they just got hit, you just gave some real practical, wisdom for how to walk that out. Because we're going to get hit in life. People are going to do stuff unintentionally or unintentionally, and then you're going to get hit. And then how do you navigate through getting hit so it doesn't take you out at the knees? So
Yeah, that's something I've learned. The first way I learned it was from watching and from reading and learning. There's a saying, a wise man learns from another man's mistakes. It's like you don't have to go through everything to learn a lot of things, but in life there are things you are going to have to go through. So I've had a couple instances where I experienced something and I was like, oh, this is why you need community. This is why you need to learn to breathe. This is why you need to stop and think before you act. So I don't know if there's any young people on here or people who haven't gone through much, but yeah, take those 2 steps, breathe and think before you act. It will take you far and it will allow you to avoid a lot of mess and a lot of chaos.
Well, thank you, Miles, for being here. And if you've been watching the Empower Network, Miles Brown, please connect with him, reach out, let him know you appreciate it, follow him on any socials. And you were an absolute blessing, Miles. So yes, tell your parents from me to them, they did at least a few things very well. And I applaud your attitude and your opinion. Clearly, you're the opposite of a victim mentality. You are a champion, Miles. You're a champion in the making. So I respect you, brother.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
I'll message you after this. I'll shoot you a recording. So thanks so much for being on the Empower Network. Thanks everyone for watching or listening. And Miles, we'll chat soon.
All righty. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.